Alright, just out doing a bit of shopping this morning at the Anarkali Bazaar, and there's some really cool stuff here. I think it's predominantly a clothing bazaar, traditional types of clothing that you can buy here, and I've actually just picked up my own shalwar kameez, which I'll wear on the bus up to Islamabad tomorrow. Unfortunately, we had a bit of rain overnight. Conditions aren't really that pleasant at all. Nevertheless, we will make do as we always do. Going to continue on down this street now and have a bit more of a sticky beat. Stuff here, like super colourful. Yeah, lots of really nice ladies fashion. It's a pity about bloody weather though, fucking miserable. Alright, unfortunately conditions are worsening, so I might just head back to the hotel for an hour or two and see whether things improve, and then maybe head back out this afternoon. So we're talking about the motorcycles a bit yesterday, and there's just hundreds of thousands of these things. But they all look the same. So you can imagine, like you come out of somewhere into a parking lot and you've got 20,000 motorcycles that all look the same. Like how the fuck are you going to find the one that's yours? I've got the fort behind me here. Yeah, there's a massive door there, which it's pretty much sealed shut. So I'm just going to head a bit further back down this way in the direction I've been heading and maybe loop around. Alright, so just met a couple of local blokes. Yeah, nice bunch of blokes. Pretty good English skills, so we've just been walking around the park here, having a bit of a chat. They're telling me a little bit more about Pakistani history and that sort of thing, so it's been pretty awesome. Just down in a park now, you can see behind me the Badshahi Mosque. So, going to head over there pretty soon and get a bit of a closer look.
I'm not him. Where I am?
Yeah, so just walking around with these guys from Karachi and
just enjoying very much.
Also mentioned I am from Kashmir.
Yeah,
we are Kashmiri.
Kashmiri, right. And yeah, just having a bit of a chat with these guys, and then just walking through the park at the moment. Going to head over to the.
Yeah, it's been a really amazing experience with you. I really get inspired with you. Yeah, of course. Please, guys, like and subscribe his Instagram page.
Yeah, everyone here is super cool and friendly. They're always up for a chat. So
same here for you.
They're making me feel very welcome. Alright, we've just rolled into the grounds of the Badshahi Mosque, The gardens are really well maintained and the architecture is just magnificent.
I think we should go that way.
Good condition to take the pics.
Alright, we're inside the grounds of the Badshahi Mosque. Wasn't actually able to get my hands on any long pants this morning, but luckily my new friends here were able to convince the security guys on the front gate to let me in nonetheless. Just looking around, it's a really nice kind of orangey red sandstone sort of colour. It's really quite stunning. We just went and had a look at, there's a little hall over there that's got these really exquisite looking Quranic texts, and the boys were just telling me it took one gentleman 10 years to write them, and it looked really of the highest quality. Call to prayer time.
In food street there are, you know.
So say this area here can accommodate up to 150,000 worshippers. It's just extraordinary. So today's Thursday, and tomorrow being Friday, there should be a prayer session on, so I might try and come back then and see what's happening. I think it'll be a pretty incredible sight to see. Just had a bit of a wander around the mosque there, which was fantastic, and just making our way out now. I think we're going to head back up to the fort, and these boys want to have a look inside there, so I only actually walked past it before, so we're going to go and take another squiz. Right, here we are at the fort. As a foreigner, I had to pay the foreigner cover charge, which was 500 rupees, or about $5 Australian. It's not too bad. The boys I'm with only had to pay 50 rupees, but it's just the way it is.
The history of this fort, like, right?
Oh yeah, our mate here's from the local area, so he knows what he's talking about.
No problem.
Right, the fort was actually constructed in around 1630 by a bloke called Asif Khan. It was constructed for the Emperor Shah Jahan.
It's like an underground prisoner, which actually this is a fort, army fort, and the army of this fort actually took these prisoners to this cave.
So the fort's actually located at the northern end of the walled city, and it spans an area of around 20 hectares. There's approximately 21 monuments on site, and it was apparently almost fully rebuilt in the 17th century when the Mughal Empire was at its peak. Right, we've just moved into another section of the fort here, and you can see here this architecture. It's actually quite nice. It almost reminds me of the Red Fort in Agra to some extent. There's beautiful gardens around here, the architecture and the colour. It's that kind of reddish sort of sandstone colour. It's actually pretty sweet. Seems a lot of the buildings around Lahore have actually withstood the test of time quite well. Yeah, condition of a lot of them is actually pretty good, given that a lot of them are several hundred years old. Interestingly, ownership of the fort has actually changed hands quite a few times throughout its existence. Starting from the Mughal Empire in 1566, it was transferred to the Sikh Confederacy around 150 years later, and then to the Sikh Empire, where it was the residence of the Sikh Emperor Ranjit Singh up until 1849. It was then transferred to the British East India Company and then the British Empire before being handed over to the central government of Pakistan in 1947. In 1981, the fort was inscribed as an UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Right here before us is basically little description about this Lahore Fort. Basically, it's under the UNESCO in 1972. Basically, to preserve the history of the cultural history of Lahore Fort. Basically, they preserve it under after 1972 under the famous organization UNESCO. They took charge of this area to preserve this for the previous for our generation. Yeah, I'm a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to make friends here. So the old mate's just given us a bit of a history lesson on the fort, which was pretty cool.
We are just discussing what we have to do. अस्सलाम वालेकुम, हमारे साथ मिक मौजूद हैं और हमारे साथ यहाँ पे अजमल, हसाम और जवाद भी मौजूद हैं। हम लोग इस टाइम शाही किले लाहौर में मौजूद हैं और हम इनके साथ कोई अच्छा टाइम स्पेंड कर रहे हैं और इनको पाकिस्तान की हिस्ट्री के रिलेटेड जो है चीज़ें बता रहे हैं कि शाही किले की क्या हिस्ट्री है।
Alright, so just finished up with a cup of tea that I've just had with the 4 young Pakistani chaps that I've been hanging around with today. They're really nice blokes, pretty well educated, good English. They're all engineering students at university. But what I found really interesting was just the level of concern that they had about the perception of their country internationally. It was really quite fascinating the way that they were so enthusiastic about trying to dispel some of the myths and trying to improve their country's perception amongst the international community. They were certainly quite passionate about it. At the same time, I could sense the frustration in their voice at just some of the prejudices and whatnot that they'd be subjected to. At the same time, I really think that things are on the up here. Like it's like the security situation for a start, I think is most definitely improved, and I haven't felt unsafe really at any point in time here. I mean, there's armed soldiers and police like pretty much like on all the streets, and security's tighter than a penguin's ass. Look at that Wagar ceremony yesterday and the rest of it. But I mean, it's certainly not a country without problems. Yeah, I mean, just from my own personal observations, I think a lot of what you hear in the media is pretty much overhyped. The government travel warnings and all that sort of nonsense. So, I mean, it's not something I personally really pay any mind to. Yeah, I need to go and experience it for myself. I mean, that's not to say I'm not taking any precautions, I most certainly am. Yeah, I think it's important for you to go and experience it for yourself, and don't judge Pakistan until you've seen it for yourself.